What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Ready Gold Standard podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn and Mike Andrews. We got a great show planned for you guys this evening. We're going to be previewing the 49ers matchup versus the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. But before I toss it over to my co-host here, if you're watching on X, head over to youtube.com/49ers Hive and join from there, so we can see and interact with your comments. We're not ignoring you. We just can't see them. So now that I got that out of the way, Matt, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Zach. Good to be here. This is the biggest game that the 49ers have had all year, and man, I am here for it. I feel like this is going to be a barn burner. Both teams kind of talking shit to each other. There goes the monetization, but hey, this is a week where we need everybody in it with emotion. I've seen people on X, Twitter, social, whatever, saying, don't touch the statue, don't touch the statue. I've seen all kinds of stuff go down. This is going to be the most important game the 49ers play up to this point in the season so far, and I'm just ready to go. Let's dive into it, man.
Yeah, exactly. Mike, how you doing?
I am great, man. It's funny that there's all this like Niners talking junk and blah, 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 blah. And all I keep saying is, ask Vegas. Don't forget anything that I got to say. Forget anything that you got to say. Just ask Vegas. They'll let you know. And I just shut up, and they get mad. Oh, they're just doing that because people are blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, sure. There's just as many people in Philly betting on the Eagles as there are people betting on the Niners. So you go and do what you need to do.
Wasn't it Matt Barrows, too, that came out and had a post or something that, like, 49ers are favored by 3 at Philadelphia? It's so random. And it's like, bro, Vegas is never random with their odds. There's a reason for that. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out for sure. Anybody know what the weather report is? Because I feel like that'll be a huge factor, right? That'll be one way or another a deciding factor, I think.
It's last I checked, supposed to be kind of rainy, like a little rainy. Let's see.
Yeah, so right now it's a 46% chance of rain in the area. Temperature it's projected to be around 54 degrees, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Sorry, did you say rainy?
Yeah, with rain. Yep.
With rain. Okay. Well,
now depending on the amount of rain, I think that'll play a factor more so than others. It's funny, right? Earlier this year, Brock Purdy had a rain game where we were like, he didn't play that well. But Zach, you and I watched him in his first start in a rain game, and it was 35-0, and he looked really, really good. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to depend on which Brock Purdy shows up, I guess.
I think maybe a crazy thought here, people. It had a little more to do with the top-rated Cleveland defense and a little less to do with the rain. Don't get me wrong. The ball did slip out of his hands. Looked like it came out weird a couple times. But I wouldn't put that all on the rain. I agree with you, Matt. I think it's not as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. Would be interesting to see if he comes out with gloves or anything like that. But let's get right into this game. Let's get right into this matchup. I'm sure we were all watching on last Sunday the Eagles play Buffalo Bills at home. Mike, you're probably rooting for Philly because I know you wanted them as close to undefeated as possible. I'm going to keep it 100. I was rooting for Buffalo. Okay, good. I'm rooting for Buffalo. Last time we had this conversation, you said, I hope both of them are undefeated going into this game. But I'm rooting for Buffalo because I can't stand Philadelphia Eagles. But damn, do they have some luck. They remind me of those Pete Carroll Seahawks teams, the amount of luck that team has. And I'm not putting it all on luck. Don't get me wrong here. There's talent for sure. They're a really good team. But they get talent plus luck, plus a little bit of zebra help. But it's insane. Mike, what were your thoughts when you were watching that game Sunday?
The NFL and the officials love the Eagles. Forget the horse collar. Forget all the stuff that happened during regulation. The Bills get the ball. They drive down the field. First of all, if Davis turns right instead of left, it's a touchdown. The game is over, but fine. They settle for the field goal. Eagles get the ball. Wentz drops back. He throws to the right and completes a pass to Devontae Smith. They punch it out. It's a fumble. Bills recover. That should have been game. There is no challenges by coaches in overtime. So what do the Bills do? They call a timeout and tell the officials, you have to look at that. That was a turnover. The officials flat out refused to do it. They flat out refused to do it. New York doesn't buzz in, doesn't chime in or anything like that. And the rest is history. Listen, you look at their last 3 or 4 games, they have gotten deeper and deeper and closer to losing. So it took overtime this time. Now the trend is here. They're no longer blowing people out. It's closer. We're winning in the third quarter, winning in the fourth quarter, barely winning the fourth quarter, and now it took overtime. They're trending in the right direction, and they're running into the right team right now.
Yeah, agreed, Matt. I don't know how much of the game you were able to watch, but just in general, what's your feel of this Philly team?
They've gotten a lot of breaks go their way. I feel like they're one of the luckier 10-1 teams that are out there that I've ever seen. There again, we talked about it last week. The point differential is less than a touchdown on the season. I don't, it's easy to fall into the zebra conspiracy thing. Mike, I think, brings up a really good point. The horse collar too. I know, Mike, you kind of dismissed that, but I mean, dude's jersey was ripped, and the rule specifically states that if you're inside the collar and use that to like swing somebody around, that's a horse collar. He was outside of the tackle because I know that their tackle box. I know there was a concern about that earlier in the season. I think it was with Bosa and Baker, and there's no horse collar if you're a quarterback in the pocket. Allen was clearly outside of the pocket, and I think to add insult to injury, did they not call a intentional grounding on that play also, despite the fact that Gabe Davis was like right there? So it's like a double whammy, right? Like they missed the one call and then they immediately miss another call, and it compounded, and you could see the frustration. I do want to say, after going back and watching that game, because live, I was out with my daughter at the zoo, going back and watching it, dude, anybody who says that Josh Allen is overrated or is bad or whatever just ain't paying attention, because that dude is like the entire Buffalo Bills offense. So he played a really good game, and it was just a wasted effort on, some bad calls. But man, Philly just seems to always get the ball to bounce their way. I feel like that luck is going to run out eventually. People talk about the NFL script or whatever. I don't think there's any denying this 49ers team that has revenge on their mind after all the talk, after all of the hooting and hollering that Philly fans did, that the Eagles did. Hassan Reddick comes out and says, oh man, 49ers crying about this and this and that. Right before, did they not cry about the playing surface that both teams played on in the Super Bowl? I mean, when you weigh, we lost our starting quarterback, who was actually our third starting quarterback of the year, then lost the fourth string quarterback and had to go back to the third string quarterback who couldn't throw the ball. To me, that's a more valid excuse than playing surface was slippery that both teams are playing on. It's degrees, but there's definitely bad blood here. I know Deebo Samuel has said that he's not a fan of what Philadelphia has done. He's he's amped up about it. I don't want to say exactly what he said, but it's going to be a barn burner. And I think that the 49ers are going to be real up for this game for sure. And again, Buffalo played Philadelphia hard, overtime game. 49ers kind of cruised against Seattle and then had a couple extra days of rest. 49ers are going to be well rested. They're going to go into that game really hungry.
I want to say this real quick. I see JoJo. Hope you have a deep quarterback bench. I've never seen fans like celebrate an injury as much as they've celebrated this injury. Like, oh, taking out a quarterback's part of the game. I don't necessarily think that's part, like, unless you're telling me it was Hassan Reddick's intention to tear Purdy's UCL and that he did it and he succeeded, then it's a little weird. It's like, yeah, you want to, maybe shake him up mentally. Maybe you want to hurt him, lay a lick on him, but to like injure them is just weird. And to like celebrate it as much as they have, it's weird shit.
I got a call 3 days ago, and they were like, "Oh man, I hope you guys bring 7 quarterbacks this time." Like, so you guys are admitting that if we have our starting quarterback, you're scared. Oh no, that's not what I meant. Well, what are you telling me then? What exactly are you telling me? If that's what your hope is, I hope you guys have enough quarterbacks. Then you're telling me that you're worried if we have our quarterback in there. So listen, this is gonna be. I know we're not there yet. I'm gonna say it now. and I'll come back to it later. Niners by 13. Book it.
Okay.
I'm telling you now.
And look, all I'll say, then I'll get to you, Matt, is that's like me coming on here and being like, yo, Jalen's got that shaky knee. You better hope someone's helmet doesn't go into it. You better hope he brought an extra knee. Like, it's just weird. Why can't you just hope both teams play a full game healthy? Is that too much to ask? Both teams at their best?
Right. That's the thing, right? One side is saying better buckle up because we're going to hurt your guy, and the other side is saying like, hey man, we want you at full strength because we just want to beat you down. And what's again, the fact that Philly fans take pride in that NFC Championship game as if they did something special, I don't understand it. You didn't do anything special. You beat a team who had to go back to an injured quarterback because they had nobody left. Christian McCaffrey was going to be the emergency quarterback. And you're proud of that? I just don't understand. That'd be like in the college football playoff, let's just say it stays how it is, and Florida State makes it into the college football playoffs and gets absolutely boat raced by Georgia. And Georgia's out there being like, hell yeah, we smashed FSU. FSU is trash, blah, 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 blah. Well, Florida State's starting quarterback, who was actually really, really good, broke his leg 2 weeks ago. Right? Their backup quarterback got injured. I think he was shaken up or whatever last week. You want to face good teams at full strength. If you take pride in beating a wounded team, come on, man. That's like going hunting and killing the deer with no legs. Like, you didn't do anything special. Stop bragging about it.
Also, I love how they like made this whole thing about the 49ers wouldn't stop talking about it. Bro, it's called interviews and you get asked questions. Like, I will give you this. Jimmy Ward, which was like his clip is making the rounds on Eagles Twitter this week. And they're like, this man's going to play dirty come Sunday. Hate to break it to you. He's in Houston. He's not on the 49ers. He signed with the Houston Texans. So he's not even playing this game. I just think when players are asked questions, what do you expect them to say? You expect Debo to say, nah, we probably would have lost anyway had we had Purdy. We probably would have gotten beat. Probably wouldn't have been much of a difference. They are professionals. They are very confident going into this game. And at the very least, they feel like an opportunity to just show what they had prepared for was taken from them. And all I'll say is Debo was kind of right. Like, he even said, I think Ayuk said it the following week, like, we feel like Kansas City is going to be able to expose some things we were planning on exposing, but ultimately didn't have the chance because the guy who was playing quarterback had one functioning arm. So it's not that crazy to like understand, but for some reason it just doesn't get through the mind of Eagles fans. So they're very hostile people. I was watching Sydney Warner talk about being at the championship game and how they were like death threats and like wishing her plane crashed on the way home. And
Dude,
then
I mean, they did it with Joey Bosa too. There was that famous video altercation outside of the stadium or whatever with him.
And then when the players come out and say these things were said, they're like, no, never. Our own? No, we don't do that. No. He was probably wishing you a great day. No, never. It's like you guys take pride on being pieces of shit. And then when somebody's like, hey, this guy's a piece of shit, you're like, no, not me.
Yeah. Just see the video of the little kid walking up to shake the Bills fan's hand and then flipping him off and walking away. Yeah. And that's like a fucking 10-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, that's a 10-year-old that went out there and did that. And it's funny, right? But it's indicative of the fan base as a whole. This is a fan base that boos Santa Claus. You know what I mean? Like, they're on a different level. And here's the thing. It's not like Brock Purdy got injured in the third quarter or whatever. It was 10 offensive snaps, and then he was gone. It was like 10 plays, and he's gone. So, I don't know, man. It's,
There's bad blood here, and it is what it is. I'm just hoping for a good game.
And Mark Lamar's in the chat. He said, bro, our fans ain't no better. They're slightly better. They're not a lot better, but I'll take pride where I can get them. It's like Raiders fans and Philly fans are like the trash heap, right? And then 49ers fans are like right above. We're pretty bad. I gotta say.
I've noticed a change in tone from the players and the coaches for both teams. Let me be clear with what I'm saying. For both teams. All of a sudden, it's respect. You got Sirianni at the microphone saying, oh, they got one of the best rosters in the league. They're really good, right? And you got the Bradbury interview making its rounds on 49ers Twitter today saying, oh, I don't know why Debo said those things. I wish he used a different word to describe my play than trash, but you got to ask him why he said that. We're just going to go out there and see what happens. Like they're all changing their tone now that it's time. Now that you're going to be face-to-face and you're going to be in the trenches, right? Now all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, buddy, good luck. We'll see you then. The truth of the matter is this. I hope that they're at full strength. I hope for no injuries. I hope Fletcher Cox is good enough to play this game. I hope that Goddard is good enough to play this game. I hope that Kelsey is good enough to play this game. I don't want there to be any excuses at all, because when/if we see them again in the postseason, I want them to remember how this game fares. I want them to remember exactly how this game goes. Regardless of who wins or loses this game, I want them to remember this heading into the postseason, that odds are these two teams are going to cross paths again, no matter the outcome of this game.
Exactly. And that's why I love hearing people be like, Eagles fans specifically, like, oh, you guys are going to have to beat us twice. Technically, they don't. The 49ers could very well lose this game and still beat you in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, they only need one, and it's not this week. I hate to break it to you. So it is what it is. Jojo, I see you getting very triggered in the comments. One, I hope you know you don't play for the team. Two, it has no impact whatsoever what happens. It's professional football teams playing. Maybe we get a little less emotional. I just think this is a great game. This is a great game, and we've rarely had good matchups. I wish it was prime time, but I'll take a 1 p.m. Fox primetime show, I guess. I'm just excited to see these two teams go at it. And I agree with you, Mike. I think the Eagles have been trending downwards, and I got to give them credit because they have won games that they had no business winning. Like they shouldn't have won last week, probably shouldn't have won against Kansas City, but they're able to they're comfortable in these tough situations. And I respect it because when the 49ers, although the situations were a little different, had the same circumstances, they this year haven't proven to be able to pull it out. So I give them credit there because it is, as a football fan, I respect it.
Sure. And we should listen. I know he's losing his shit in the chat. We really shouldn't be wishing injury on anybody. We really shouldn't be doing whatever. I know there's another guy in the chat, and he looked like he got a Yankees hat as an avatar, and he's talking about the Eagles. Man, y'all got to pick a city. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all got to relax, man. Philly and New York hate each other. I don't understand how that works. I got a friend who's a Philadelphia Phillies fan and a Dallas Cowboys fan, and I can't marry that in any way whatsoever.
I can't talk. I'm a Phillies fan. I'm a Niners fan. I'm a freaking Devils fan. Like my basketball team is the Charlotte Hornets. I can't talk about picking a city. But it's because what happens is, right, when you first learn about a sport, you pick a team and you ride with them. I don't hop bandwagons. And the one thing I refuse to do is just be stuck with a fan base because that's where I live at the time. I refuse to do that. I want to watch. I want to like what I like when I start watching, and then I'm sticking with them. So, I now you won't see me hopping back and forth. So,
I just like to give Yankees fans static because they've been so good for so long, and there's baseball drama with the Yankees right now. In terms of, I mean, I'm a 49ers and Padres fan, but there's some drama with Juan Soto and all that stuff. So I'm just giving them stuff. Honestly, though, I'd rather beat the Eagles at full strength. To be honest, I don't want to take any easy way out. Iron sharpens iron, and I think if the 49ers can go and beat a 10-1 Eagles team that is pretty much at full strength, including Lane, I get off the ball way too early, Johnson. All for the better. And you best believe that they're studying tape on Lane Johnson. And if there's a tell there with him, kicking his foot back early, best believe somebody like Nick Bosa or Chase Young is going to be timing that snap. So all the better. If they can stay healthy, I'd really like to see, what happens. It's going to be a good game either way.
I agree. Daddy-O has a good comment here. This year's Eagles team is just a better, more talented version of the Vikings last year. They win the close games, gather up the W's, but when playoffs come, it's going to be catch up with them. I agree, but I disagree slightly because the Eagles have proven for 2 years in a row now. Like, it's not just the balls bouncing their way. The Vikings, I think, were more that this last year than the Eagles are this year. there's talent, there's coaching. Like it's a little more to do with what the Eagles are doing. But it's been really close. Like half their games have been really, really close. But they've been taking care of business. So I'm
well,
not.
and that's you got to give them props for that, right? Good team find ways to win close games. That's just the bottom line, right? And so the games that the Niners were close in, we didn't win, right? If I'm an Eagles fan, that's what I'm going to say, right? You can only beat who's in front of you. We can't help that your quarterback got injured. It's not our fault. Like, we didn't do it intentionally, and we just went out there and finished the game like we were supposed to. That's how you're supposed to do it, right? And you still boast, we beat you guys. What are you going to do? We'll see you guys this week, and, good luck to you guys, or bad luck. I hope we beat the shit out of you again, right? That's how it's supposed to be. But it's just really, really weird that they don't acknowledge. Tonight I'm at the bowling alley, and I am literally dressed head to toe, and I literally mean down to the socks in Niners gear, because I'm in a bowling alley full of Eagles fans. And I'm out there, and I'm talking my junk, and the one guy says to me, he says, "You really think you guys are going to win?" I said, "No, I know we're going to win this game. I have never been more confident that the Niners are going to win the game." I said, Niners by 13. Weather's not going to matter. You're going to need all the help that you can get. You better hope the officiating stays the way that's been for you guys. And he was like, "What? You think we got the officials?" I said, and I asked him about the fumble, not called a fumble. He said, "No, I thought that was a catch." I said, "Which means you think it was a fumble?" And he was like, "Well, I see what you're saying, but the one play I will give you, that should have been a horse collar. That definitely should have been a horse collar." Like, so you're acknowledging exactly what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? When you get them one-on-one and you actually talk to them, they'll talk sensibly. But the problem is you got emotions and the crowd, and one person hypes up another and just keeps going and boiling over. And so it's going to be chaos, man. I think that it's going to be very, very hectic in the stands, especially because the Eagles haven't lost a game in their stadium this year or last year. So they're not going to know how to deal with it when they start falling apart at the end there. They're not going to know how to deal with it. It's going to be hostile.
That logic applies to Colts as well. Just going to say, you got to talk to them individually, get them away from the group. So just throw that out there. Matt, Jeff, on that?
No, I was just going to make a joke about Phillies fans throwing batteries at each other and shit like that.
We got a super chat here from our guy, Gray Fox 198. Thank you for your contribution. I just traveled back from December 3rd at 5 p.m. PST. 49ers 42-13. Eagles, you heard it here first. I got to go. My people need me. Jumps back in the time machine. Thank you very much. Appreciate the message from the future. It's going to be good. Antonio Robles, seriously though, going to be a great game, guys. Really looking forward to it. I'm just hoping for a good game. We've only had a few good matchups on paper that actually have been good matchups come kickoff. So I'm really excited for this one. I think the 49ers are going to take care of business. I've seen a lot of, and I hate to make this a show about Eagles fans versus Niners fans, because it's really not. But I just got to say this. Like, a lot of them are like, well, technically the Eagles don't need this win. Like, we could drop this one and then win next week and we're all good. It's like the excuses are kind of coming pre-built in the week.
I will say that this would mean less than, a playoff game, right? And it's so cringe when I watched it happen. But we all saw 2 weeks ago when the Eagles beat the Chiefs, right? And Nick Sirianni's in the tunnel, mind you, yelling at Chiefs fans, "Hey, I can't hear you now." And it's like, that's cool, man. You won that regular season game, but at the same time, you lost the Super Bowl. So while ultimately this game is very, very important, it's very likely these two teams are going to see each other again in the playoffs. And that's going to be the more important game. So I do understand from that perspective, Phillies fans, Niners fans, whoever, saying like, well, if it does go down this way, then this, right? Even if the 49ers beat the Eagles because of the fact that the Bills lost to them, the Eagles will still have an advantage in terms of the number one seed. And then, like Mike said, when we were talking about the game last week, you just have to hope that the Cowboys can beat Philly at some point, and that the Niners have to run the table, because with 3 losses already, the 49ers are going to have a tough time catching up. It's going to have to be, the 49ers and somebody else helping them out, and the 49ers run the table. It's likely they're going back to Philadelphia at some point. that's going to be the more important game. So I kind of understand that the built-in don't. If the 49ers lose, I wouldn't overreact to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just hilarious because they're, in the chat talking about we beat real teams. You lost to Zach Wilson. Your team lost to Zach Wilson. Like, sit down. If that doesn't prove that every week is its own season, like, I don't know what else does. Like, each game is its own game. You can't really take much from the other ones other than, systems and holes and what to exploit. But any given Sunday, I mean, you all know the term. Mike, do you have something to add? All right, we got a super chat here from Master Chef. We have to just keep scoring at every possession because it's us against Eagles and the refs. And then we got another one here from Sean. I heard Fletcher changed his middle name to Sucks in preparation of his best move and wants to be an eligible wide receiver.
Well written, Sean.
And this just tells you how important this game is because people are coming hard in the paint. Like, people are definitely amped up about this. I mean, I am too. It's just going to be interesting. And I do actually agree. I know that who was it? I'm trying to go back up. Master Chef said that the 49ers have to score every possession. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say that it's just like the refs or whatever, but I do think it's important that the 49ers go out and try to get as many points as they can. That's cliche as shit, but there's a lot of times that the 49ers have gone out and scored on the majority of their possessions. Here's the thing. It's got to be sevens. It can't be threes. And so it's going to be very important that the 49ers score touchdowns on their drives.
Yeah, both teams have scored the same amount of points this year. If you look at the points for versus points allowed, that's where the big difference comes in. But
49ers are the scoring defense, right?
Yeah, but I will say that I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe the Eagles have a defensive score in there as well as a special team score in there, while the Niners are all from the offense. There's been no help in scoring from the defense or special teams units.
You know damn well we ain't got no special teams points. Come on now. Ray McLeod, 2 yards and McLeod of fucking bullshit. But, I know they talked about the refs too. Somebody posted, I think we talked about it earlier in the group chat, right, Zach? Alex Kemp and crew are going to be manning this game. They have refereed 49ers game this year. And that one that they won?
Steelers, yeah. Steelers game.
Yeah. That's right. The Steelers opening game. And they have not refereed a Philadelphia Eagles game. So I don't know. Take that for what you will.
We had 13 penalties or something like that in that game? 13, 16 penalties in that game? I think
a lot of penalties for sure. But to be fair, both teams had a lot of penalties that game. They just threw a lot of flags. So hopefully it doesn't come down to that. Hopefully they let them play a little bit. But you never know. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I think this is going to be a big George Kittle game. Going over stats.
Yeah.
Kincaid had a solid game last week, but the Eagles are 32nd in DVOA in defending tight ends. They're giving up like 6 catches for 50 yards. I saw that. I just closed out of the tab, but I saw it on X. I'm sorry, I couldn't credit who had the stat. And Kittle has been on a tear like the past few weeks. I know he didn't do much in Seattle. Prior to that, he's one of Purdy's favorite targets. Like, Purdy has definitely elevated George Kittle's game, revitalized his career. So I think they are going to have a tough time defending George Kittle. I believe their linebacker, is it Cunningham, is injured as well. So they're going to be down a starting linebacker. I know they're trying to get Shaq Leonard, right? Shaq Leonard in there?
Yeah.
And it's tied on it between the Eagles and the Cowboys. So they're going to have a backup linebacker most likely trying to cover George Kittle. I like Kittle's chances on that. So I think Kittle's going to have a big game. Any predictions, Mike?
No, Kittle's going to have a big game for us. They're susceptible to attack in the middle, even in the run game. Even in the run game, they're susceptible. I saw Latavius Murray looking like a viable option at running back last week, and that tells me all I need to know. Even if the weather gets bad, it still favors the Niners here. We got Christian McCaffrey, who is light years ahead of what Murray is or ever was. So they're going to be in trouble. It's going to be a lot for them to deal with. I don't think people realize how overwhelming this 49ers offense can be when we're all healthy. All the skill players are healthy right now, and it's going to be trouble, even with the bad offensive line on the right side. Even with that bad offensive line on the right side, we've been finding ways to play around it, and it hasn't cost us much. What, one sack here or there a game? Like the Niners are. Listen, it's going to be nice. I am so excited for this game, man.
Yeah, agreed. I agree 100%. Matt,
Yeah.
do you have anything to add?
No, I think your prediction of Kittle is spot on. It's going to be one of those games where yards on the ground are going to be hard to come by for both teams. Niners are number 1 in yards per game against the rush. Eagles are number 2. But where the Eagles are weaker than the 49ers on a fundamental level, the 49ers are number 11 against the pass and passing yards per game. The Eagles are 29th. So there's yards to be had in the air. They just have to, the 49ers have to go get it. And they have to nullify the pass rush. And one of the things that can be worrying at times is how's that offensive line going to hold up? We all have seen the numbers where the 49ers against, the pass are like 26th or something like that in terms of pass blocking. They have to get passes out quick. If that's a Kittle thing, fine. I'm actually leaning towards another big Debo game. I think getting the ball out to him in space really quickly is going to be something that's going to be advantageous. And I also think that this is going to be a game where if it's not working for Christian McCaffrey in the run, you're going to see a lot of angle routes. You're going to see wheel routes. You're going to see things like that where Christian McCaffrey is probably going to have 7-8 receptions this game to kind of take the load off of Brock Purdy. He's going to have to get the ball out. And then you're going to see a couple of chunk plays to Brandon Ayuk, right? A lot of those underneath stuff, a lot of the quick stuff is going to hit. All of a sudden, they're kind of focusing on that. Brandon Ayuk gets loose in the second level, and then it's a 30-yard, 35-yard pass. And then you let Brandon Ayuk work. So there are opportunities that are going to be there against a weak Philadelphia Eagles pass defense.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. I think a big difference in the Eagles this year and last year is their secondary. Like you just said, Matt, they were pretty good, if not one of the best last year in their secondary. This year, not so much. Although I will say Darius Slay is very grabby. He seems to get away with a lot of holds. So as long as the 49ers receivers are able to get that separation, it shouldn't be too big of an issue. But I like their chances here. And hey, Debo, it's time to put up or shut up. You've been talking shit for the past almost 11 months. Well, let's see what you think you could have done, and let's see what you can do, right? So let's see. Mike, do you have anything to add?
I think Slay and Ward are very similar in that sense. I think Ward is very handsy. And for whatever reason, last week, they just weren't calling it on him, right? And I'm not saying that he was holding or anything. It's just if they wanted to be ticky-tack, he's got both hands on the guy beyond 5 yards. Now, if it doesn't interfere with the route and all that, that's all a judgment call, right? But if they were to show these replays, and you know how they do them in slow motion, it's like, yeah, he had both hands on him 8, 9, 15 yards down the field on DK, and they just didn't call it because DK was running a straight route versus trying to cut in the opposite direction. All it would take is, I can't believe I'm about to say this, all it would take is for the receiver to turn into him and it to flag every time. But Slay has those same exact tendencies. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I think the 49ers defensively, I saw the Eagles' vaunted offensive line. Now, I know they were without Lane Johnson. That tackle was still jumping early. You could have fooled me. Thought Johnson was still in there. But they were struggling to contain the Bills' defensive line. Jalen Hurts seemed like he was under pressure the entire game. He did make some plays. Credit to him. He was able to extend plays, roll out, including a touchdown pass on like 3rd and 15. It was actually a really, really nice play. But they couldn't contain the Bills' defensive line, So I think the 49ers defensive line must be watching that film, licking their chops, thinking if they can't hold these guys, we're insanely better than them. So I think there's going to be a big Nick Bosa, Chase Young. Mind you, this is going to be the 3rd time Chase Young has played these Philadelphia Eagles. So he knows what to expect. He knows what to plan for. I like the defensive line's chances here. I think they're going to make Jalen Hurts' life hell.
Any concerns about Armstead being on the injury report today with the foot injury?
It is concerning because nothing really happened last week. So my mind goes to, is it the plantar fasciitis that he was dealing with from last year? Is it a flare up? Is that how that works? I don't know.
So what I heard was that he re-injured it, visualizing himself sticking his foot up the Philadelphia Eagles' ass. That's what I heard.
You had me going there.
Oh, I had you in the first half.
It is concerning though, because if it's the same injury, he missed multiple games.
Kyle specifically said, I don't know if it's related to the same thing he was dealing with last year. Feet, so just from a medical perspective, feet are very, very complicated because it's poor circulation. There's a lot of little small bones and ligaments and tendons and stuff that can get inflamed or whatever. We don't know if he showed up in the injury report because somebody stepped on his foot, or if he has turf toe, or if he has plantar fasciitis or what have you. It's without any specificity. It's going to be really hard to know what's going on with him. It's going to really kind of come down to the wire in terms of what the injury report looks like. Today's Wednesday. Let's talk about it maybe on Friday and see where they're at, because this could just be a thing of like, hey, I did have that thing last year and my foot's kind of sore, and they're kind of like, all right, let's just hold you out and just kind of go from there. It's tough to tell unless we actually have more information. Right now, it's just a very nebulous kind of description that he just has a foot injury, which could mean any number of things.
On top of that, they had the extra couple days since they played on Thursday. Maybe they're just playing it safe. And maybe they're like, you know what, just take today off. If they played Sunday and playing again on Sunday, I'd be interested to know if he practiced. But maybe just because they have the extra time, Kyle's like, you know what, it's cool. Just keep it safe. All right. So we talked about Christian McCaffrey a little bit, but in my opinion, after seeing what Pacheco did to this team, what the Bills running back just did to this team. Now, I know his overall numbers don't look great because he had 16 carries for 43 yards, average under 3 a carry, but the holes were there. The dude was just running with both of his eyes closed, apparently. There were massive size holes in this Philadelphia defense that he just couldn't hit. I fully expect Christian McCaffrey to hit these holes. He's got fantastic vision, really good in small spaces, really good with his footwork. I'm expecting a big McCaffrey game, which takes a lot of the load off the passing game. Matt, I'm going to throw it back to you. What do you expect out of McCaffrey here? Do you think he can get it done?
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be tough. Eagles are number 2 against the rush. This looks like, so there have been multiple games where Kyle has looked to set up the pass to supplement the run. And I feel like this is going to be another one where they're kind of pass heavy to begin the game, just because you don't know if the run's going to be effective. And based off the numbers, which Kyle seems to really like, he's going to look at that and be like, I don't know if this is going to work. He'll go to it 1 or 2 times. If it doesn't get anything, he's going to shy away from it. We know the Kyle MO for all this stuff. It's just going to be dependent. But if anybody can break through, obviously you would hope that it would be somebody like Christian McCaffrey, who has established himself as one of the best running backs in the NFL. So I expect a big game out of McCaffrey, but I think it might come more out of the passing game than the running game.
Okay. I like that. Mike, what do you expect out of him Sunday?
No, I like what Matt was saying. If they're not getting it, from the handoffs and between the tackles, you do kind of what, New Orleans became famous for with Drew Brees, and the pass becomes an extension of the run, quick outs and just go, get him the ball in space and let him see what he can do. It's going to be more about the comment right there on the screen, total yards versus rushing yards. And that's what it's all going to come down to. I think that we're going to be absolutely fine. Christian McCaffrey's going to have a good day. If you got him in fantasy, start him.
100%. This comes down to Kyle Shanahan scheming up plays to get the ball out of Brock Purdy's hands quickly enough. If you're asking him to hold the ball for longer than 2.5, 2 3/4 seconds, maybe it's going to get a little iffy there. But as long as he's getting the ball out on time and rhythm quickly enough to negate Hassan Reddick, Jalen Carter. I don't know if Fletcher Cox is playing, but Fletcher Cox, if so, then it kind of completely negates Philly's pass rush. So we'll see. And I really like Jalen Carter. He's a fantastic talent, has played as well as any rookie, especially on the defensive side this year. And the 49ers offensive line is going to have their hands full, especially the right side going up against Reddick. if it's McKivitz that's dealing with them, the 49ers are going to need to figure that out. Excuse me. What do you guys think? How do you think they're going to handle the Philly pass rush? Mike, Matt?
So there's a way that, if you know one side of your offensive line is the weakness, what you start doing is throwing the ball over the heads. You anticipate them coming in, right? You have your blockers take deeper drops, so that way the players are a lot closer, and you kind of just drop the ball over their head. And Brock Purdy is really good with throwing a touch. He has had some batted passes that kind of worry me, but those are more over the center area, but coming off the edges, he's usually good with those kind of things. And that could be something that, you're going to want to see where they're lining Christian McCaffrey up in the backfield. Is he going to be to the left of Brock Purdy towards Trent Williams' side, or is he going to be to the right? I think that it'll be a lot better if they line them up on the right side. They let the pass rushers kind of just come in there, and then, you check it down to them immediately and make those pass rushers kind of soften up a little bit. But you got to do that early in the game, So I think that there's ways around it, and Kyle's well prepared for it.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot.
A lot of what Mike said. It's going to be up to Kyle to do a lot of the things that other teams have done against the 49ers to negate their pass rush. If anybody knows what that looks like, it's Kyle Shanahan at this point. They've seen teams run screens, run quick outs, run all of this other stuff to get the ball in space to their playmakers. If anybody can dial it up against the Eagles, it's going to be Kyle Shanahan. They definitely have to get away from that right side of the offensive line. And a lot of that is what we've seen already from Brock Purdy. Some of his best throws have come on those bootleg lefts, including the touchdown pass to Brandon Ayuk last week. So there are opportunities there to kind of get away from the guys that are, coming after Brock Purdy. Hassan Reddick is going to be somebody that I bet Kyle Shanahan pays special attention to, given what happened last year. And I can almost damn well guarantee you that because Kyle is Kyle and he wants to prove that he's a genius, there will come a point where Kyle tries to block Hassan Reddick with a backup tight end. But it's going to be something that's going to be more quick hitting so that Brock Purdy can get the ball out. We all know what Kyle is, right? He's a red ass. He likes to prove that he's the best. He thinks he's the best no matter what. I bet you he's going to do it. That's just like my little prediction for whatever happens. I think there's going to be at least a play like that where that happens.
I could see that. 100%. Going back to the running game, Josh Allen had 81 yards on the ground, 9 carries, 81 yards. Like, he was running all over that defense, including, I think he had a rushing touchdown as well, or maybe 2 rushing touchdowns. He was arguably the best player on the field. So I think maybe do we use Brock Purdy in the running game? Do we see Kyle let him scramble? Does he take advantage of these open lanes that are there if a pass isn't there? Purdy is quicker than a lot of people expect. So it's just something that's there. Maybe they could use if needed.
Yeah, I like that. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I think people underestimate Purdy's mobility because he's not running for 30, 40 yards at a time, right? He's not running the ball in from 15 yards out and scoring touchdowns and all like we saw Hurts do at the end of that game in overtime, right? That's not one thing that he does well. However, if there's a lane, if there's a pocket that's crashing on him and he sees a space, he takes advantage of it. And we've seen him outrun people. Those little legs, man, they just get it's kind of weird to watch him do it with those tiny legs, but he does it well, man. He evades pressure and he'll gain some positive yards. So I absolutely expect that to be a part of the game plan this week.
Let's be real. I think Brock Purdy's small legs are the reason why his 10-yard split is the same as Lamar Jackson's. It's like a cartoon, right? Where its legs are just going so fast right at the beginning that he just takes off. So it is something like that. But it is a good thing to have. We've seen Brock Purdy be able to get outside and use his legs to kind of extend, and not in the way that everybody wanted when Trey Lance was here. They wanted this type of offense for Trey Lance. Now we're seeing it with Brock Purdy, and it's been very effective. Where Brock Purdy is the type of guy that's going to keep his eyes downfield. He wants to throw more than anything, but he's not afraid to take off. And they're not doing the design quarterback runs and all that stuff. They're actually allowing Brock Purdy to be a quarterback that has the ability to escape and move the pocket. So it's going to be something that, we're going to have to pay attention to. I don't think Kyle goes out of his way to scheme design quarterback runs for him. I don't think that's Brock Purdy's game. But again, like those boot actions, I think are going to be something that are going to be heavily in use for this game to get Brock Purdy away from the free rushers and away from that right side of the offensive line.
Yeah. Now, on the flip side, something we saw Thursday night that we talked about in the recap show was Charvarius Ward shadow DK Metcalf, and he essentially took him out of the game. I think he had 3 catches for like 32 yards. Could we see him do that to A.J. Brown, who, by the way, has had an iffy last couple games? I mean, last week he had 37 yards on 5 catches. Week before that against KC, he had 1 catch for 8 yards. And then the week before that was his best game in the last 3 weeks, 7 receptions for 66 yards against the Cowboys. But he's kind of been on a downward trajectory after 6 straight games of over 115 yards receiving. He hasn't been that guy. It's been Devontae Smith. Mike, do you think we can see Mooney Ward try and take A.J. Brown out of the game?
I hope not. Not this week. This week, I prefer them to let these guys play their side and just stick to it. And this could be me just being scarred from the last time we played A.J. Brown, not in the NFC Championship game, right? But with the Titans, they started moving him to the slot and all that. They were finding the matchup for him to take over the second half of a game. So maybe I'm a little scarred from that. But I'm hoping that if he's going to be moving around a lot, then no. If he's only going to be outside left or right, then fine. That's absolutely okay. I don't want to see Ward covering Smith. I think Ward struggles a little bit more against the shiftier receivers, and Devontae Smith is shifty as hell. So I prefer to have someone like Diamador Lenore on him, or Womack if he gets in there. But I don't want to see Ward on him. If they end up keeping, who? God damn it! How did I just blank like that? If Brown stays on the outside, then that's fine to move him back and forth. But I don't want to see him in the slot. It's just a little bit more to concentrate on and all. I don't want to see that happen.
Okay.
I actually agree with Mike. I think that the better move is to put Charvarius Ward onto A.J. Brown, who has a similar profile to what DK Metcalf likes to do, right? Brown is not quite the route runner that we've seen from some of the receivers that have kind of chewed up Charvarius Ward. He's going to have a better time going against those guys. Whereas, meanwhile, Devontae Smith, man, super fast. But the one criticism that I have of Diamador Lenore is that sometimes he's just too small. He's going to be actually the bigger dude in terms of going against Devontae Smith. And this is a 49ers team that, people will say, oh, the narrative out there, they only give up X number of catches. Well, I mean, the Eagles didn't really have to pass the ball against the 49ers last year in the NFC Championship game. Let's be real. But there has been some success there. What really needs to be taken into account is what's going to happen in the deep middle of the field. What is going to happen at the safety position? Jair Brown has not really been tested so far in any meaningful way in any meaningful game. This is going to be a game where I feel like he's going to be tested. How is he going to answer that? To me, that's the most important part of the equation. Obviously, Charvarius Ward has had his struggles, but against the big body receivers, he typically tends to do a little bit better. I thought he did a really good job against Mike Evans up until it was late in the third, and he started playing that soft coverage, and he did an excellent job against DK Metcalf. A.J. Brown kind of projects to be the same type of wide receiver, where I really feel like they could get away from, being as dominant as they have been the last couple of weeks, is if they allow people to get free over the middle.
100%. I really agree with that. And I think this is one of the rare times where the 49ers secondary can match up with like an elite receiving core, because that's always been their Achilles heel. I don't know how the hell they got by Devontae Adams with Dante Johnson back there, but they did. That was on a prayer, and, Hufanga takes that blocked punt in for a touchdown and they win. But this time I'm actually confident in the 49ers secondary's ability to cover. And it's just now become the perfect marriage of front seven and secondary, where the pass rush is perfectly coinciding with the secondary coverage, which has kind of been off since Steve Wilkes got here. But the last couple of weeks, it's been perfect. So if they can continue to do that, the 49ers defense should have no problem handling the Philadelphia Eagles come Sunday. I wanted to share this this tweet from Aaron Schatz, and he's going over the DVOA. And the 49ers are the best, just barely best team ever tracked by DVOA. And they're at a 39.7 DVOA. 95 Niners, 39.3. A couple of the Super Bowl teams, the 84 were 36.4. The 89, 29.5. Like, this is one of the most talented teams the 49ers have had. And all of the stacks track, like, it all adds up. It's just crazy to me that they're doing what they're doing. And Brock Purdy, of all people, is under center, slinging the rock. Like, he's playing as well as just about any quarterback in the league. So I just saw this. I needed to share it. It was a cool stat. I don't know how much weight you guys put in DVOA. Some guys swear by it. Others think it's useless. It's just cool either way. Raphael says, don't get Mike started on Dante Johnson.
I let it go. I behaved. I didn't defend my guy. So, it is good. Zach was making a point, so I just let it go. But, as someone who doesn't quite understand DVOA, I just don't comment on it, So it's cool. Great. The one thing I'll say is that the teams in the 20s were the ones that won the Super Bowls. The ones in the 30s were the ones that seemed to lose early in the playoffs. So I guess, whatever. But I don't quite understand the stat. It's nothing that I can look at and say, oh, we did really good for DVOA this week, like while watching the game. So I just wait for the numbers to come out. They could tell me that the Niners are at 62. I wouldn't know what it meant. So.
I'm kind of with you on that. DVOA is another one of those things. It's kind of like a nebulous. How do they determine it? Who determines what the value above average is? I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing, but I'll take their word for it. It is what it is. One of those things where, yeah, you can, like you said, Zach, some people swear by it. Some people don't care at all. I think it's just another tool that you can put in your toolbox to try to figure some stuff out, right? Everybody knows that I'm not the biggest PFF fan. In the right context, if you have other sources to kind of corroborate what PFF is saying, it can just be another tool in the tool shed. It's interesting, but it's not something that I would swear by.
For those that don't know what it is, if this is the first time you're hearing it, it stands for defense adjusted value over average. It measures the efficiency of football teams in terms of both their offense and defense. The purpose is to provide a more accurate picture. In the simplest form, it measures the team's success on each play against the league average success on that play, adjusted for the strength of the opponent. So it tries to take all the variables out of it, like, oh, yeah, but you're playing the Bears. Well, it would take the average against the Bears, what you would normally get, and values it over that. So it's a way to try and take all the variables in and really gauge how good you are on both sides of the ball. So, all right. It's time to start to get into our offensive and defensive predictions. But before I do, is there anything in this game, this matchup, on or off the field, that I didn't talk about that you guys wanted to cover? Not all at once now.
I think.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I think this would be a good time for our defense to have a scoop and score or a pick six. Like, if there's ever a time that I would just love, like, just icing on the cake, right? I don't think it's needed, but icing on the cake, it would be for the Niners to have like a pick six or something like that, or safety. Like, we don't even have a safety. I can't tell you how many times Mitch has pinned guys inside the 5, right? I mean, the closest I saw was Geno Smith recovering his own fumble, and I was like, "Oh, they touched him. The ball was over the line. That should have been a safety. It should have been like that's the closest I got to it all year. I don't even know if we've touched a quarterback while he's been in the end zone, and we've had opportunities to do it. But it would be just defense. Give us a little something. Give us some points with possession, or give us some points somehow. This would be a great time for that to happen. Like Matt said, I don't have much faith in the special teams unit to do it, but come on, man, give us a little something here, man. Let's see what we can do. Give us one.
Yeah. Sin asks a good question. Dude, Mike, are you going to this game?
Absolutely not.
Sounds like
Everything
you have
in me.
experience at the link.
Yeah, no. I've never had a hard time out there. I've been going. I usually go to basically every 49ers game out here in Philly. I didn't go to the NFC Championship last year. I did go when we were there in week 2. I believe it was the same year. I think it was the same year.
It was the year before.
That was
the year before.
2020.
Jalen Hurts first year.
2021.
Jalen Hurts was a rookie, I think. That year.
Yeah, so I went to that one, but these tickets $450 for standing room only. I can do a lot more with that money, just than stand up and have in the cold at that. Like, no, absolutely not. So sorry, I love my Niners. It's going to be raining and all that. I'm not paying $450 to stand outside and get soaked and wet and be sick a couple of days later.
You can have a good time with a good TV in your house with a nice warm couch and heater going. No, I don't blame you for that. I'm definitely
we will be live on Patreon.
There you go. Yeah, I'm definitely not going. I'm out here in the 70-degree weather in San Diego. I'm not going anywhere near that snow and whatever else out there in Philly. Y'all can have it.
On top of that, I can sit here and not get beers thrown at the back of my head. Crazy. It's crazy. It reminds me of when the Raiders were still here in Oakland and the Niners and Raiders were to play each other. Now people would get killed. Like, that's why they stopped scheduling these games, because people would
Isn't that wild that the fan base was so? I mean, no. What other fan bases have you heard doing that to each other?
It's not even a rivalry
where the league has to be like, they're not playing anymore
because
people are dying.
It's not even a rivalry. Like, it's not like these teams have this crazy heated history between each other on the field. It's just literally, you're the next city and I fucking hate you, so I'm going to stab you to death.
And the league was coordinating those. Keep in mind, this was preseason. They were coordinating it to reduce travel and wear and tear on the teams, trying to do like the organizations a solid. And it was like, yeah, no, these fan bases hate each other too much for a game that doesn't even matter. Absolutely not. Like, no more of that. It was over.
It feels like the Raiders were actually, for the 49ers, at least in preseason, were replaced by the Texans, because we seem to play the Texans now every year.
Chargers too.
Well, the Chargers were always. So the Chargers
true.
and the Broncos were all, like, I feel like they were always part of it, because you don't play your division opponents in preseason. That's kind of how they do it. So for me, the 49ers, it was like they kind of replaced the Raiders with the Texans. I can't remember the third team. They don't play. Is it Kansas City? Maybe they play Kansas City a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe like the AFC West versus the NFC West. I don't know how they do it, but they had to change the 49ers, obviously, to the Raiders, or the Raiders to the Texans, excuse me, just because of that situation. It's kind of crazy. But I do think Daniel Garcia brings up a good point. A lot of that was gang related too, which kind of sucks. But, you know, it's a moot point now. I'm sure they could do it at this point because, you know, the Oakland doesn't have any professional teams anymore. So whatever.
All right. We're going to get into our predictions. But before we do, we got to pay the bills. So we'll be right back. Message from today's sponsor. Just want to take a second to thank today's sponsor, MyBookie. As a bettor, you demand perfection, and MyBookie delivers. NFL, college football, and a brand new cash out system gives you options to bet and win all season long. The first 2 legs of your parlay hit, cash out early and use the funds on another bet. Or you could let it ride for the chance of a bigger payday. Join the MyBookie family for a season filled with odds boosts, free bets, and super contests. To get started, all you got to do is super simple. Go to Mybookie.AG right now and register for an account for free. That's right, it's free. And whenever it is you're ready to make your first deposit, just use promo code HIVE. It's right here on the screen, HIVE, to grab a welcome bonus on the house. That's our gift to you for being a part of the 49ers Hive family. That's promo code HIVE, HIVE, to claim your deposit bonus. And for a limited time, you also get a free chip to use in the MyBookie casino. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Now let's get back to the show. All right, guys, Mybookie.ag, promo code HIVE. They have a prop right now that I really like. It is Christian McCaffrey to score 2 or more touchdowns and the 49ers to win. And that together is plus 236. So go check it out. All right.
Better throw that out on Honeypot, man.
Yeah, we just recorded an episode actually right before this. So, offensive player of the game. I'm going to start with myself. I'm going to take the easy one, guys. Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy, if anyone circled this game when the schedule came out, it was him. He's the one that got taken out in January. Like, yes, all the other players feel like something was taken from him, but he literally was taken out of the game. He had to go through elbow surgery. He had to go through months of recovery, possibly losing the starting job over it. I think that Brock Purdy comes to play. He's not anxious. He's not nervous, but he's just ready for the moment. Brock Purdy has a big game. I'm going to say 26 of 30, 280 yards, and 3 passing touchdowns. Mike, who do you got for offensive player of the game?
Not going to have a lot of stats. Not going to put up a lot of yards, not a lot of touches. But I got 2 touchdowns for Kyle Juszczyk.
Oh, football.
2 touchdowns for Kyle Juszczyk. That's right.
Fullback,
That's
baby.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Matt?
Zach. I don't want you to think I'm copying you, but I agree with you. This is a Brock Purdy game all the way. Brock Purdy is going to have 400 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. He's going to go off on these punk-ass Philadelphia Eagles, and he's going to say, you're going to respect the name Brock Purdy. Remember me come late January because we going to push your shit in here, and we going to come back and do it again in January. 49ers are going to roll because Brock Purdy is the man. 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. Let's go.
Let's do it.
In the rain and in the cold. You guys are bold as hell.
He don't give a shit about no rain.
He don't care. He don't care. All right. Defensive player of the game. By the way, guys, put yours in the chat. Love to hear your predictions. I'm going with Chase Young, the newcomer, but somebody who's familiar with this team. I think Chase Young, 2 sacks, and I'm taking a page out of both of your guys' playbooks. A forced fumble, scoop and score. 2 sacks, forced fumble, scoop and score for Chase Young against his old rival, baby. I love it. Who do you got, Mike? Defensive player of the game.
I'm going to go with Javon Hargrave, man. I like when players go against their former teams. I don't think there's any bad blood at all between him and his former team. In fact, when he got here, he said he still loved those guys, so I can't speak on the rivalry and what it was like in the NFC Championship game and all that. However, if there's anybody that knows the ins and out of that offensive line, if there's anybody that can have a decent game, especially with Armstead status being up in the air, it's going to be him. I think he's going to be kind of the signal caller, so to speak, for that defensive line, man. I think he's going to go out there and he's going to have himself a game, and I think he's going to cause havoc. He might not get a lot of sacks, but I expect a lot of pressures. I'm talking 7 or 8 pressures in this game by himself, a couple of quarterback hits even, get his hands on Hurts a couple of times. I think he knows that offensive line, and we're going to see the dividends for it right here.
Not only that, real quick for Matt goes, if anybody knows how to practice against the tush push, the sisterly shove, it's him.
Listen, I'm not looking forward to the Niners trying to stop that. I'll be completely honest with you. I every time I watch the play, I pay attention to a different defensive lineman, and it looks like they just shoot at the guy in front of them at their ankles. And so it causes everyone to fall down, and then Hurts just kind of goes over and turns backwards, and it's an easy 2 or 3 yards to gain. I'm not sure if there is I've seen it stop twice this year, only twice though, and both times it kind of seemed lucky. I've seen people try to jump over and grab Hurts. I've seen people try to come from the side, just sandwich the middle as opposed to just push everybody forward. And it doesn't seem like there's a concrete way to do it. And the Niners defensive line in general is not good in the 4th and 1s. 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s in general, like when they know it's going to be a handoff. And this is something that Philly goes out of their way to do. We've heard Kelsey not so much complaining about it, but talks about the wear and tear that it puts on his body every time they have to do it. And Philly doesn't give a shit. They're like, yeah, we need this 1 yard. You're getting paid good money. Get your ass out there and go and do it. So they don't care. There's I just don't see how you stop it consistently. So I'm not looking for the Niners trying to stop it. My hope is that there aren't many 3rd and 4th and 1s. Let's keep them in 3rd and 3s. You know what I mean? That way they're hesitant to do it.
Matt, before you go, I just want to say, I think if we were to see the Eagles run a fake tush push in any game, it would be this one. I guarantee you they're going to line up. But if they were 4th and inches, whatever it is, they're going to throw a fake tush push, and Swift's going to be running around the corner. Guarantee Sirianni would throw it out. What do you got, Matt? Defensive player of the game.
Listen, I think he's going to carry momentum from last week. Another tough assignment, but I think we get a pick 6 from Charvarius Ward. Let's go. Dude's going to clamp up A.J. Brown. He is hitting his sweet spot. He's hitting his stride for the season. Charvarius Ward is going to get it done, and that's going to lead to what I will talk about in this final score prediction. Let's go, Mooney Ward.
I love it. All right. Final score predictions, baby. I got the Niners taking this one. They're favored, I think, by 3 the last I checked. 3 points. That's right. Over-under sitting right there at 47.5. I got the Niners covering, and I got the Niners 38, the Eagles 21. Mike, who do you got?
Did you say 38-21?
That's right. 38-21.
17 point. Wow, man. All right.
I thought I was bugging with my 13-point prediction, man. I like it, though. I don't have the Niners quite getting to the 30 mark, just a hair under. I got 16-29 with our Niners walking away with a 13-point victory. 29-16. I should have said it that way. I apologize.
We'll see with the rain. Maybe they can't get to 38 with the rain. If it's not that rainy, I like the Niners put up a lot of points here.
That's all right. Listen, Brock Purdy, like I said, 4 touchdown passes. So on the day, 49ers for me, it's going to be a 31-27 type of game. That's how I'm feeling on this. It's going to be a close game. I feel like both teams are really, really good. I want to give the Eagles their due. They're 10-1. They're number 1 in the NFC. It's going to come down to the wire, but I feel like it's going to be one of those games where the 49ers are front running and Philly tries to make a late comeback, but they just can't quite get there. 31-27 49ers.
Okay. All right. I love it. Drop your final score predictions in the chat. If you're watching this after we've gone live, tweet them at us, post them at us, I guess. If you get it correct, we'll send you some merch. It's time for the chat back, guys.
While you dig that out, Matt, man, the last couple of shows, I've noticed a whole different background and everything. Have you moved rooms or something? Like, what's going on, bro?
Yeah, I moved my setup. It's going to be like this probably for the rest of the season. And then after the season, after the Super Bowl, me and my wife bought a house. So it's new construction, so it's currently being built. So I'll be moving into a different office too, and then the setup will change again. So, so I did move from a different room to this room. A lot of stuff right now. So,
all right, I have one here. It's a good one. Chat, please feel free to comment your answer as well. If you could be the CEO of any corporation in the world, which one would you choose? This is tough.
Man, it's going to be Walmart. I want to make that money. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to take the easy way out. It's, being a CEO, that's a tough job. People don't understand all what goes into it, and people look at that and they're like, oh, this dude makes so much money and this and this and that. Man, that job sucks, dude. That job sucks because if anything happens, it's on you. Everything is on you. Let me just go for the easy one, right? Walmart's got the distribution. They got the massive amounts of profits because, they essentially just run everything at almost wholesale, and all their profits are driven by volume. And because there's Walmarts everywhere, that seems to me like it's an easy job. I will just take the money and run. I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm going to enjoy my family. I'm going to do all this stuff because Walmart is essentially on autopilot. That's where I'm at for this one. Usually I'm the philosophical guy. I'm the one that's really deep. This time I'm like that song. Oh, take the money and run. That's what I'm doing.
All right.
Singing, man. I think that's a first for us here, or at least as long as I've been here. I like it, man. I like it. I'm actually going to go a little different way, man. One of my favorite electronic companies when I was young was Nokia. and I'm not talking about the old Snake phones, right? But back in the day, Nokia phones were far and away ahead of Samsung, I used to order my cell phones from overseas. I had phones that you could take it and it would open and then you could turn it sideways for camcorder stuff. And they put all this cool technology in their phones while the whole United States was on 3 megapixels. And that was like the new thing for the cameras. They used Carl Zeiss lenses and they were on 15 and 20 megapixels way before it was a thing here. And then you had this like boom of iPhones and Samsung start kind of copying each other, and they just went away from buttons and all that stuff. And phones kind of got boring. But I would love to try to get in there and just try to bring some of that, maybe nostalgia back to cell phones, get people excited about what their phones could do again. The technology is getting smaller, so you don't have to do a lot of crazy stuff with the phones, but they had full keyboards and you can open it up in regular keypads, and they actually had buttons. It wasn't a lot of touchscreen stuff. They eventually went to it, but they got left in the dust by the big fish in the pond. But they also had some cameras. I would explore televisions and all that kind of stuff. I would want to get a dying electronic company and just go all in on it. Let's fail, but have fun failing. You know what I mean? Like, let's see if we could just spark some interest somewhere and ride the wave for a couple of years. That's what I would like to do.
Okay. All right. Damn. All right. I went a couple different ways with this. I like Edward's answer. Google. Imagine all the shit the CEO of Google knows, just what's going on in the world. I am going I'm taking my answer a little bit further, and I'm going to the 80s in either New York or Miami at a high-end investment firm. Like where you're wearing I'm talking like Wolf of Wall Street or the original one with what's his name? Michael Douglas or whatever. Just the high stress.
I think that's just Wall Street.
Wall Street. Thank you.
Yeah.
High stress, suits, ties, cocaine, money, fast cars. I don't do cocaine, but that's the lifestyle. And it just seems like it'd be amazing to be in charge of all that, yelling at people, making millions of dollars a day, all these calls and trades and all that. I don't know. Seems like it'd be a crazy job. Yeah, Gecko. That's right. Great is good, baby. It'd be fun. I love dressing up. I wear a suit every day, so a nice suit and tie.
I should have known yours was going to be related to a suit somehow. That makes perfect sense for you, man. That's awesome, right, man. I love it for you. That's good.
Right. All right.
Zach's like, I'm gonna be the CEO of Caesars Entertainment, bro. I'm just gonna own the whole casino shit.
That's right.
Oh man.
That's right. You guys would have free rooms for life. All right. That's gonna do it for the show, guys. The 49ers are playing the Philadelphia Eagles. We are here at that point in the season. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Mike, thanks for joining as always. It's going to be a good one. We'll be live. I don't know if we're going to be live on Sunday, but we'll figure it out. Follow us here on X, and we'll put out the details for the next show. You're not going to want to miss the recap because we're going to be recapping a 49ers win, whether it's by a little, whether it's by a lot. We'll be here. So even the Eagles fans, if you tuned in tonight, come back. Share your thoughts come Sunday or Monday or whenever the hell we're live. Come back. Mike, let the folks know where to find you. I'm sure they already know.
Yeah, I'm only plugging Patreon now, man. This is going to be the game. I know everyone's going to be able to see it. I think it's the game of the week, so it should be on all local, Fox, I believe? Mm-hmm. I think it's on the local Fox channels for everybody, but we will be having a lot of fun over on the Patreon, so make sure you guys get there.
Actually, believe it or not, in Southern California, the Rams are going to be on. It's a good thing I got Sunday ticket, but anybody else in the Southern California region, I implore you, if you're a 49ers fan, go out to a sports bar and on your phone, pull up that Patreon, okay? Just do it. You want to be able to watch the game while Mike is actually going over it, right? It's one thing to just be listening to the Patreon with no context, but man, you can get out, have some wings, have a beer or two, and then listen to Mike over on Patreon. That's going to be ideal for sure.
Oh, and we yell, we scream, we curse. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun, guys.
All right, go check it out. And yeah, I think every city but LA and maybe Texas is getting the Niners game. So it's unfortunate, but that's what it is. Matt, carry us out.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. It's a huge one. This is the biggest game that the 49ers are playing up to this point this season in 2023. It's going to be a barn burner. I think it's going to be something that the 49ers are going to relish. All the pain, all the misery, all of the bad taste from last season, they're going to pour into this game. Come back and join us for the post-game show, hopefully with the 49ers win. So for Mike, for Zach, for myself, thank you as always for joining us. We love having you here. And until next time, go Niners.